going on across the world. At the federal level, at the national level, more and more evidence coming out that Donald Trump's loss or supposed loss is still highly in question. As Georgia, we see ballots coming out from under the tables. We see people coming in the middle of the night. We got people, all kinds of affidavits around the country. And it's not coincidental. It's just not even possible that Barack Obama was the Messiah to the Democrats when he ran, and he was the first African American president. Okay, and you're telling me that Joe Biden, hiding in his basement, having car drive-in rallies with 50 cars, you're telling me Joe Biden spurred the kind of enthusiasm that beat Barack Obama? You're not telling me that, are you? No, you're not. Here's the funny part. For all you haters out there who think, oh, Donald Trump lost, Donald Trump should just give up. There are these things in America called bellwether counties that they used for polling. And those, they call them bellwethers because if this state or this county or this one in a certain state goes a certain way, then that's a bellwether of things to come for the whole state. Do you know that Joe Biden underperformed Barack Obama in 80% of the bellwether states? Okay? No sitting president in history has ever won the state of Ohio and the state of Florida on a re-election campaign and not got reelected. No president in history has got 10 million more votes in his reelection and lost. So, you know, I'm a little bit of a math wonk. I do these numbers quick and I zap them out and everything else. But mathematicians, really smarter than me, say the odds of Joe Biden losing 80%, underperforming Obama in 80% of the bellwether counties, and dispelling the Ohio Florida narrative, and dispelling the president winning 10 more. When a president runs the second time, it's usually like a given, like, all right, they're gonna win, and kind of less people vote. Like Barack Obama got less votes the second time he ran against Mitt Romney for one reason, because everybody's like, nah, we know he's got it. So Trump actually did the opposite, like he's done almost his whole presidency, and before that, he actually got more votes in his reelection campaign. And so it turns out he got the most votes for any presidential candidate ever, except for Joe Biden. And when you start looking in at those bellwethers, you say, well, wait, how did he do worse than Obama in all these places and still win overwhelmingly? Because you got 5 states where the Democratic machine controls the Board of Elections. And those 5 states had these enormous spikes of votes that came in when the polls closed overnight. We all went to bed on election night. Good night, Alice. Trump is winning, thank goodness. We woke up the next morning and Joe Biden has suddenly surpassed all of these huge leads, and now he's in the lead. So crazy stuff is happening. Now, here in New York, I have been part of a support group for the owners of Max Public House. And, you know, a lot of crazy stuff has happened to us here. And it starts to really feel like we're not in America when someone can go out and loot and riot. In Chicago, the Antifa folks were telling their people, if you need to rob a Gucci store to feed your family, that's okay. They have insurance. And we have these progressive liberal DAs like Cyrus Vance here in New York, and they said that, well, we're not going to prosecute people who protest peacefully for minor disturbing the peace and stuff like that because it's good. It's going to be a summer of love. Everything's fine. Okay, so Tale of Two Cities is Walmart, for example, just announced they'll be paying $700 million in bonuses this year. Whoa, what a Christmas it's going to be for the Walmart employees, isn't it? Almost $1 billion, sucking that money through their online premise, through their online presence from all the people that have no money. And at the same time, this state where Governor Cuomo just got a raise, okay, where he's begging the president every day that we need more money, but this state is empowered to take 1/6 of the entire sheriff's department here in New York and send them to Staten Island to run a sting operation and ambush a guy who's just sticking up for his freedoms and liberties. Why? He opened the bar. Lots of questions to be asked. The reason I started this segment talking about the national election, because I'm feeling more and more, and I know you guys probably see it, that what's happening here in Staten Island is a microcosm of what's happening across the country. And Americans across the country is saying, wait a minute, this can't be happening. This doesn't make sense. Did they just steal the election right before our eyes? And you know, I've been waving my hands and screaming and yelling and all this other stuff about stop the steal on the federal side. We got a dictator here in New York, and we got his little emperor in New York City, Andrew Cuomo and Mayor de Blasio, that they're basically saying, we're going to steal your business. Because these guys have no business sense. These guys have no science behind them, and they're just making up arbitrary codes. Oh, you know what? Let's get all those dummies in Staten Island. You know, Staten Island, they voted for Trump. Trump got 57% of the vote here versus 43% of the Democrats. In Staten Island, it's 60% Democrat, believe it or not, 40% Republican. So if we got all the Republicans to get the 57%, we had to get some Democrats. So Democrats in Staten Island were splitting their ballot and going over for Donald Trump and Nicole Maliotakis because they don't want us to become some crazy progressive society. Okay? And then we have dictators here who are basically saying, we don't care, little man. You're going to listen to us. And all you folks down there towards Mid-Island and the South Shore who voted for the orange man, here's a little thumb in the eye. You're an orange zone. And yesterday, the Emmy Award-winning leader who marched over 7,000 senior citizens to their death by sending them back to the nursing homes, took time out of one of the biggest catastrophes in United States history to pen himself a little memoir and make some more dough. Got a raise, but he's symbolically saying he's not taking it. As soon as this comes down, he'll take the raise too. But while all of that's going on, the simmering at the level, the signal is people are fed up. People are disgusted. People have had enough. And the guys right here at Max Pub have been literally the tip of the spear at, we're not trying to bother anybody. We're not trying to hurt anybody. We got safety rules. We have stuff happening. We don't want to have issues with law enforcement. In fact, the NYPD, who comes here periodically, passes by, does it sound strange to you that a bar owner was taken down in a sting arrest for the second time in 4 days by a group of 20 men and women dressed in black? I don't know. My dad was a member of the NYPD, and I'm a proud son of an NYPD member. All my childhood memories were being a bat boy for the NYPD softball team and being a towel boy for the NYPD football team and going to police camp where all the cops that were broke could go for vacation in the summer. So I'm all for the NYPD. And it starts to stink to me when I hear a crime was committed, supposedly, in Staten Island. And the Staten Island I grew up in, if you got arrested, you got in an NYPD car and got taken to the precinct before they called your parents and you got the turd knocked out of you. Okay, but not one NYPD officer was on scene for a takedown that looked like, Roger Stone or Osama bin Laden or something. I mean, they sent like this whole team of sheriffs. And the odd thing is, all you question, you see the video out there. Our team here found the video along with Kevin Sheehan from the New York Post. And everyone thought it categorically shows that Dan didn't do anything wrong. What he did was run for his life, fearful that two big people dressed in black were coming to get him because we had Antifa at the door the other day. I'm going to show you that video in just a little bit. We're working on the fly. I'm right next door to Max. We're here. We're setting up the studio. I'm getting ready. We're going to be broadcasting from here for quite some time after this. And I can tell you, I heard Keith yesterday with my own ears. He said, the dream continues. And that's his dream to open a pub. And it's the dream of all Americans to reopen their pubs and feed their families. We don't loot. We don't riot. In fact, after the protest and rally the other night, about 100 people stayed around and actually cleaned the streets in Staten Island. Nothing on fire. No Molotov cocktails thrown. No stores looted. No one rioted. But those Staten Island folks from Saturday Night Live want to come off the top rope like Jimmy Superfly Snuka and throw an elbow on the little man. And I'll remind you guys, And I know these guys. This guy Colin Yost, he's a member of my country club. I see him up there often. He seems like a nice enough guy. I don't really know him personally. We say, hey, how are you? Pete Davidson, I know him for quite some time since he's a young man. And I would say to these guys that your voice could be used in a lot better way. And if you guys want to be legendary comics and comedians, you might want to check out what George Carlin had to say because he's a legend. And George Carlin said that comedy should be used to punch up on people who are abusing their authority, not punch down on people who are little and can't fight for themselves. So take a note from one of the George Carlin's on the Mount Rushmore of comedy, if you ask me. So maybe you guys want to take a little tip from one of the OGs of comedy. Stop picking on the little man. And in fact, he probably looked pretty damn good if you came out and said, we understand that small businesses are hurt. So we'll take a quick break. We got a lot to talk about. We'll come back right after this. You're watching Liquid Lunch special today from the Max Pub Speakeasy studio. And we're going to come back with a heck of a lot more for you to know. All right here happening from New York, Staten Island, New York.